the day the world entered darkness. The invasion of Poland, the beginning of World War II. September 1st, 1939. This date marked a significant turning point in human history. Before dawn, millions across Europe were unaware of the events to come. Children prepared for their daily routines, such as going to school. Workers expected another ordinary morning. Families still believed that peace prevailed. However, beneath diplomatic speeches, significant tensions remained concealed. Similarly, propaganda masked underlying instability. Promises of peace also obscured the imminent threat. Europe was already on the brink of catastrophe. Within a matter of hours, the world would enter the deadliest conflict in human history. Following the conclusion of World War I, Germany experienced significant national humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles imposed severe economic and political penalties on Germany. Many Germans attributed their hardships to ineffective leadership, economic instability, and the sense of national humiliation. Subsequently, a political figure emerged who pledged to restore Germany's power and prestige. This individual was Adolf Hitler. He pledged to restore national strength. He advocated for territorial expansion. He emphasized the restoration of national pride. He also called for retribution against perceived injustices. Gradually, these promises began to materialize. Germany initiated the process of military rearmament. The production of tanks increased. Aircraft manufacturing expanded significantly. Weapons factories were established throughout the country. Entire cities were transformed into centers of military production. During this period, significant developments were unfolding. The international community observed these events closely. Several world leaders expressed hope that diplomatic efforts could prevent the outbreak of another global conflict. Other leaders feared that Germany's growing power would become impossible to contain. However, by 1939, the situation had escalated further. Adolf Hitler sought objectives beyond mere politics. Poland was situated directly in the path of these territorial ambitions, and Poland stood directly in his path. In public statements, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union were widely regarded as ideological adversaries. The former adhered to fascist ideology. The latter was governed by communist principles. Privately, however, a significant and unexpected development occurred. Germany and the Soviet Union entered into a clandestine agreement. This agreement is known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Officially, the pact was presented as a non-aggression treaty. However, the agreement contained a secret protocol. This protocol stipulated the division of Eastern Europe between Hitler and Stalin. Poland, in particular, was designated to be partitioned. The two leaders covertly agreed to eliminate Poland as a sovereign state. At the time, the majority of the international community remained unaware of this arrangement. September 1st, 1939, 4:45 a.m., German forces initiated a large-scale invasion of Poland. Warships opened fire. Aircraft bombed cities. Armored divisions crossed national borders with unprecedented speed. This strategy became known as Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg translates to lightning war. It was characterized by speed, violence, and overwhelming force. German tanks advanced swiftly through Polish defenses, while aircraft targeted roads, railways, communication infrastructure, and civilian areas. The magnitude of the attack shocked the international community. For many civilians, war arrived without warning. Homes were destroyed. Entire neighborhoods were set ablaze. Families fled in panic and confusion. The modern era of mechanized warfare had commenced. However, Poland did not surrender easily. Despite being heavily outmatched, Polish forces continued to resist. Polish soldiers demonstrated remarkable tenacity in combat. Many soldiers recognized that their chances of success were minimal. Nevertheless, they persisted in their resistance. Certain battles became enduring symbols of extraordinary courage. Soldiers defended urban areas methodically, often fighting street by street. Civilians also participated actively in resistance efforts. Many young men volunteered for service, fully aware that they might not return home. One of the most enduring myths of the invasion asserted that Polish cavalry charged directly at German tanks armed only with swords. In reality, the situation was more complex. Polish cavalry units were frequently deployed as mobile infantry. But the myth itself, the international community perceived Poland as fighting desperately against an overwhelming military force, against an unstoppable machine. Subsequently, the situation deteriorated further. On September 17, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east. This action occurred in accordance with a secret agreement previously established with Hitler. Poland consequently found itself trapped between two major military powers. German forces attacked from one side, Soviet forces attacked from the other. The country experienced simultaneous military pressure from both directions. For the Polish population, hope began to diminish. Many recognized that this was no longer merely a border conflict. It represented the destruction of their nation itself. But the invasion was just the start. Soon after, the occupation became more and more brutal. Arrests, executions, mass deportations, intellectuals, political leaders, resistance members, Jewish communities in particular, became targets. Fear spread throughout the country. People lived in constant fear. The invasion of Poland became one of the first steps toward a much greater disaster. World War II, and eventually, the Holocaust. In the years that followed, millions of civilians lost their lives. Shortly after the invasion commenced, Britain and France declared war on Germany. However, immediate military assistance provided to Poland was limited. For many Polish citizens, the declarations resulted in minimal changes to the situation on the ground. German forces continued their advance. Warsaw was placed under siege. The intensity of bombings increased. Food shortages became increasingly widespread. Ultimately, after several weeks of resistance, the Polish capital ultimately surrendered. The war that many had hoped to avoid had begun. At that time, many soldiers believed that the conflict would conclude rapidly. This expectation proved incorrect. The invasion of Poland marked the beginning of a global catastrophe that would affect multiple continents. More than 70 million people ultimately lost their lives during World War II. Entire cities were destroyed. Atomic bombs were deployed. Several empires collapsed. The global political order was permanently transformed. All of these events began in September 1939. History encompasses more than a record of past events. It also involves analyzing systems of power. Propaganda is a significant factor. Fear shapes collective and individual actions. Nationalism influences political and social dynamics. Economic instability often exacerbates societal tensions. Political extremism can undermine democratic institutions. These forces continue to shape contemporary societies. The invasion of Poland demonstrates how rapidly peace can deteriorate when authoritarian power, territorial ambition, and propaganda converge. Many societies assume that large-scale wars are unlikely to occur. However, historical events reveal that such assumptions can be quickly overturned. Individuals living in 1939 were unaware of the events that would soon unfold. They could not foresee the emergence of concentration camps, widespread global devastation, nor could they anticipate a conflict that would fundamentally transform civilization. This may represent the most significant lesson to be drawn. Historical change frequently occurs gradually, followed by abrupt and transformative shifts. If this documentary helped you better understand how World War II truly began, consider subscribing and sharing it with individuals interested in history, geopolitics, and the underlying forces that influence global events. And subscribe to the Secret Narrative YouTube channel for more documentaries about hidden history, intelligence operations, war, propaganda, and the systems behind global power.